Do you want to know how to properly prune an adenium? In this video, I will talk about how to prune adenium and share important information that will help you achieve the desired results. Remember that pruning an adenium is not just a mechanical intervention, but a real art. If you are thinking about pruning your plant, you should be clear about what exactly you want to achieve by doing so. Many people believe that pruning has a positive effect on flowering and growth of the caudex, the thickening at the base of the adenium trunk. However, this is a big misconception. Pruning the trunk and shoots is primarily to stimulate the growth of side shoots and to create a lush plant with lots of flowers. But don't forget that this is only one part of caring for your adenium. Now about root pruning. Yes, the roots can also be pruned, but many people doubt the expediency of this procedure. I will talk about root pruning later, and now let's talk about how to prune the trunk and shoots. First of all, I want to warn you against common mistakes. Never prune both trunk and roots at the same time. This can lead to the death of the plant. If you have already trimmed the trunk, wait until the adenium recovers before tackling the roots. Pruning the trunk, shoots, and roots can delay flowering indefinitely. Use a sharp and sterile pruning tool and be sure to treat it after each use. This will help prevent the transmission of infections from one plant to another. After trimming the trunk or roots, treat the wounds. It is recommended to use superglue with cyanoacrylate or paraffin without dyes and fragrances. Both methods have their advantages, but the main thing is to ensure hygiene and protection of the plant after the procedure. Remember to blot the protruding sap with a clean cotton disc before treating the wound. This will help ensure better adhesion of the glue or paraffin and speed up the healing process. When pruning adeniums, it is important to use caution and take appropriate precautions. This is to avoid contact with the plant sap, which has toxic properties. After completing the pruning procedure, you should also wash your hands thoroughly with soap and water. This rule is extremely important considering that the juice of adenium is poisonous. However, it is worth noting that this caution applies to most plants, as many of them contain toxic substances in varying concentrations. Now let's move on to the details of trimming the trunk and shoots. As already mentioned, pruning is necessary to encourage the plant to branch, as adeniums do not branch naturally. If not pruned, the plant can grow in the form of an elongated stem, which not only deprives it of its aesthetic appearance, but also takes up more space. Therefore, crown shaping becomes a necessity. Interestingly, adeniums can be used to create bonsai. After the pruning procedure, treatment of the sap and wound with glue, as well as a thorough hygienic cleaning of hands, there comes a key moment: creating conditions for the activation of dormant buds. This requires maintaining an optimal temperature in the room of at least plus 25 degrees Celsius. It is also necessary to provide sufficient lighting. In this case, LED lamps of cold white light with a marking of 6,500,000 will help, and the more watts, the better. Failure to create such conditions reduces the likelihood of several buds awakening and, as a consequence, may result in the formation of only one lateral shoot. It is therefore important not to make the initial pruning cut too low, so that in the event of failure, you can correct the situation by making an additional cut a little higher and correcting the mistake. Make the cut aslant 1 centimeter above the nearest bud. This will increase the likelihood of more buds waking up. Also, if you don't want a lot of small, thin shoots to grow after pruning, never cut too low. Close to the caudex, it looks unaesthetic. If you cut high, just at the top, it is likely that only one bud will also wake up and you will have to do some additional pruning. There is one very effective way to achieve maximum branching of the adenium: cut the leaves without trimming the trunk. This can be started from the plant's 2 to 3 months of age. Adeniums like lots of light, and when they get enough of it, they stimulate active growth. Pruning the leaves reduces the area of light absorption, which promotes the active growth of side shoots. Pruning should be done as follows: remove all leaf plates, leaving only the leaf stalk. Leave a couple of leaves intact at the top. Buds will begin to appear over the left leaf stems. But I warn beginners and those who have not yet tried to do so, do not cut off all your seedlings at once. Try it on a few and then continue. Gain experience and then already act according to the situation. Under the conditions of temperature and light, you should do well. I do not give the exact scheme of pruning because each adenium is an individual and the conditions of their maintenance may differ. In addition, there are many cases when pruning should not be done, as the plant needs to be tidied up first. Let's move on. The next important point is watering after pruning. Many people encounter problems due to incorrect watering regimes. It is important to remember that after pruning, you cannot continue to water as before. After trimming the trunk and leaves, the plant is not able to evaporate moisture as effectively. In addition, adenium is a succulent that is able to store moisture in the caudex. Therefore, until the new leaves grow, it is enough to slightly moisten the soil. Gradually increase the water volume as the shoots and foliage grow. If you water too generously, there is a risk of caudex rot due to excess moisture. Move on to the next step. After pruning, it is recommended to spray the trunk of the adenium with zircon once a week. This helps to stimulate the buds to awaken and helps them to develop well after pruning. This process should be continued for the first month after pruning. Some flower growers stop feeding adeniums until new leaves start to grow. However, this is a big mistake. Pruning is a stress for the plant, and during this period, it is especially important for it to receive sufficient nutrition. By the way, before pruning for 10 days, it is recommended to spray it with Adenium to reduce stress. Thus, continue to fertilize the plant. Fertilizers should contain more potassium and phosphorus to stimulate flowering, but the presence of nitrogen is also necessary. During this period, you can use universal fertilizers with equal amounts of nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, but the dose should be divided into two parts. When and at what age to prune adeniums? Pruning should be done in spring and summer, and the earlier the better. You can pinch the seedling as early as 2 or 3 months of age. When it grows, instead of a clothespin, it will be imperceptible, which will improve the appearance. However, it is worth remembering that after pinching and pruning, the trunk stops growing in height, and further growth will be due only to side shoots. Now about root pruning. Why? Here it is important to understand why you want to cut the roots. If your goal is to grow a large caudex, it will not work, but the risk of damaging the adenium is high. So before you start root pruning, listen carefully to what it's for and make an informed decision. If you do decide to proceed, make sure you know how to do it correctly and without harming the plant. Do you know what really affects the thickness and shape of the caudex? It's genetics. What the caudex of the plant from which the seeds were collected was, the caudex of the offspring will be approximately the same. That's the secret. Of course, it is possible to stimulate caudex growth if the plant has the appropriate tasks and potential, but not by pruning, but by other methods. However, this is a topic for a separate video. What is the purpose of cutting roots after all? It is mainly done to form a bonsai-style root system to give the plant a certain aesthetic beauty. Not everyone grows adeniums for flowering. For many, the appearance of the plant is more important. It is common to trim the center root and correct the rest with a clothespin with the intended design in mind. Keep in mind that while the roots are healing, the growth of the above ground part of the plant practically stops. Therefore, after pruning, transplanting into a smaller container will be required. This will stimulate active growth. It is desirable to use a transparent container, for example, a plastic glass, so that you can observe the growth of roots. Do not be alarmed if after pruning the adenium loses some of its leaves or if they turn yellow. This is normal as the plant switches to root regeneration. An indication of successful pruning will be the appearance of new shoots and leaves. If growth does not resume for a long time, root inspection for rot is necessary. The pruning tool should be sterile as already mentioned. After cutting the central root, the wound should be treated with superglue and the plant should be planted in slightly dry soil. After planting, do not water for 2-3 days and wait with the hope of success. Small roots can be treated with charcoal powder. I do not give the pruning scheme intentionally, as each plant requires an individual approach. And remember that only healthy and well-developed plants should be pruned, otherwise damage can be done. Subscribe, give me a like, and stay tuned for more interesting videos. Your support means a lot to me.